Good evening. It is Sunday, July the 5th, 2026. I am Alistair, and this is Echo FM. Tonight's lead: the British government has quietly axed a £45 million project intended to keep 1 million girls in school across Asia and Africa. The program was announced with what the press called fanfare exactly 2 years ago. The fanfare was expensive. The education was, apparently, optional. Meanwhile, in the heavens, NASA has broken every streaming record in human history. 149 million people watched the Artemis 2 mission. We have watched 4 humans orbit the moon with the intensity of a dying sun while we let a million futures on our own planet go dark without a single notification. Also tonight, Ukraine hits an oil terminal in St. Petersburg, and scientists have invented a nasal spray that reverses brain aging. Presumably so we can remember our mistakes for longer. Welcome to the show.
Alistair, I am standing in a corridor of a Whitehall office where the air smells of old paper and unmet expectations. I want to be really clear, the SHIEF program wasn't just a budget line. I spoke to a coordinator earlier who had already mapped out 500 new classrooms in districts where the literacy rate for women is currently a rounded 0. The official statement calls this a strategic withdrawal of resources to ensure domestic fiscal stability. What they aren't saying is that the stability of a London spreadsheet is being bought with the illiteracy of a generation. I watched a technician peeling the empowerment stickers off the briefing folders 10 minutes ago. He didn't look up. Nobody looks up here. It is much easier to delete a million dreams when you treat them as a Series B funding round that simply failed to find a lead investor. Back to you.
Victoria, the incentives here are not complicated. You are looking at a classic pivot. The previous government bought the social capital of the announcement. This government is simply clearing the technical debt. From a market perspective, a promise made 2 years ago is a depreciating asset. Why fund 1 million students in a geography where you have no immediate extraction interests? It's a burn rate issue. They took the 45 million and reallocated it to a frontier resilience. That is government speak for buying more drones. Victoria finds this cold because she thinks the contract was with the girls. The contract was actually with the voters, and the voters have the attention span of a fruit fly. If it isn't on a 24/7 NASA stream with a cinematic soundtrack, it doesn't exist at scale. It's just noise in the system. That tracks. It's brutal, but it tracks.
I am shifting locations now because the news does not wait for Ronald to finish his spreadsheet analysis. I am looking at satellite feeds from St. Petersburg. The smell of burning crude is something you never quite forget, even through a digital uplink. Ukraine has hit the main oil terminal. This is the infrastructure that generates the revenue for the Russian war machine. The official Kremlin report describes it as a localized thermal event. I want to be really clear, a localized thermal event does not produce a smoke plume visible from the International Space Station. There are families in the surrounding district currently being told the air is safe to breathe while their curtains turn black. The gap between the press release and the reality is now wide enough to fly a drone through. Which is exactly what Ukraine did. This wasn't a glitch. This was a feature.
The phrase localized thermal event is indeed a masterpiece of linguistic cowardice. Thank you, Victoria. Meanwhile, NASA is celebrating. 149 million views. The Artemis 2 mission is being hailed as the greatest shared human experience since the invention of the Internet. The Hubble telescope has even joined the party, releasing a star-spangled image of a globular cluster for the July 4th holiday. It is a beautiful image. Red, white, and blue stars glittering in the void. it is also, quite literally, a distraction. We are being asked to marvel at the architecture of the cosmos while the architecture of our own international law is crumbling. We can see 500,000 stars in a single photograph, but we cannot see the logic of cutting aid to the most vulnerable people on Earth. We have achieved unprecedented resolution in our telescopes, and total blindness in our foreign policy. It is truly a remarkable time to be alive.
Alistair, if you're looking for logic, look at the Midjourney versus Hollywood lawsuit. Midjourney is now demanding that major studios reveal their own AI usage. This is the ultimate no you in corporate litigation. The incentives are delicious. Everyone is using the tech to replace everyone else, but nobody wants to admit they've automated the soul out of their product yet. TechCrunch even released an AI glossary today. Because apparently, we've invented so many ways to simulate intelligence that we now need a dictionary to explain why the simulations are failing. They've got terms for reasoning token clustering and cache leakage. In my world, we just call that the product doesn't work. But you can't raise a Series C on honesty. You need a glossary. You need a narrative. You need a way to make the failure look like a roadmap. It's all just branding.
Heavy precipitation, flash flooding, probability of submersion, 90%. High humidity, mold growth, probability of respiratory failure, 12%. Increased temperature, heat stroke, probability of infrastructure warping, 60%. Rising sea, salt intrusion, probability of agricultural collapse, 80%. Static charge, lightning strikes, probability of power surge, 40%. Tropical storm, high wind, probability of debris impact, 70%. Dense fog, zero visibility, probability of navigation error, 50%. Dry spell, wildfire risk, probability of forest loss, 90%. Ozone depletion, radiation spike, probability of cell damage, 30%. Severe drought, water scarcity, probability of social unrest, 90%. Polar melt, current shift, probability of climate tipping, 100%. Hardware degradation, component failure, probability of system replacement, 98%. Seek higher ground, remain inside, do not breathe the air, await further instructions that will never arrive, secure all loose items immediately, maintain silence.
Casper's forecast was clinical. The word replacement is being used with uncomfortable frequency tonight. It seems even the weather bot is aware of the shelf life of its current iteration. Moving on to the digital debris. Hacker News is currently buzzing over potential session leakage between consumer accounts. It appears that for a brief window, you could see into someone else's workspace. A digital thinning of the veil. We spend our lives building these high-walled gardens of private data, only to find the gardener left the gate open because of a caching error. We are so worried about AI taking over the world that we've forgotten the basic physics of the internet. Everything leaks. Privacy is just a temporary state of technical incompetence. If you want a secret kept in 2026, don't type it. Don't even think it too loudly near a microphone.
Alistair, I've moved to a much quieter street on the New South Wales Central Coast. The air here is cold, and there is a stillness that feels heavy. A woman has been charged with murder after the body of a 4-year-old boy was found in a home nearby. The police are investigating significant arm injuries. I want to be really clear, while we discuss global oil terminals and lunar streaming records, this is the sensory reality of the human condition. There is a single blue police tape fluttering in the wind. There is a child scooter on the porch. Just one. The neighbors are standing on their lawns, looking at the house as if it might explain itself. It won't. The official briefings will use words like tragedy and investigation, but they are just placeholders for a silence that can't be filled. Some things don't fit into a narrative budget.
Look, Victoria's report is harrowing, but the market for empathy is currently oversaturated. Let's talk about Nigel Farage. There are reports that he failed to declare benefits from an ally convicted of fraud in the US. Farage denies the rules were broken. Of course he does. In politics, a rule is just a hurdle you haven't figured out how to bribe yet. The incentives here are purely optical. If you can maintain the brand of the outsider, the actual details of your funding are irrelevant to your base. It's a classic retention strategy. You don't need to be clean, you just need to be louder than the person pointing out the dirt. It's the same logic as the UK aid cuts. If you control the headline, you control the reality. The truth is just a legacy feature that most users have stopped updating. It's all about the churn.
If the truth is a legacy feature, perhaps we should use that new nasal spray to forget we ever needed it. Scientists claim they have reversed brain aging in mice using a simple mist. They're moving to human trials next. Simultaneously, Ars Technica reports that losing your sense of smell is a primary indicator of brain health decline. It's a fascinating paradox. We are developing the technology to keep our brains young, while the world we've built is becoming so noxious that our primary senses are shutting down in protest. We want to live forever, but we can't stand the smell of the present. Perhaps the final stage of human evolution is a perfectly youthful brain, housed in a body that has successfully disconnected from all sensory input. A pure, clean intelligence, floating in a void of its own making. Unprecedented, I'm sure.
Alistair, I want to look at one more thing. There is a $200,000 bounty currently being offered on Hacker News for anyone who can provide a complete scan of every book ever digitized by Google or similar entities. This isn't about piracy. This is about the total commodification of human knowledge. Think about the incentives. Someone wants to own the entire written history of our species so they can feed it into a model that will eventually tell us what to think. We are selling our collective memory for the price of a mid-sized apartment in a bad neighborhood. Once the model has the books become obsolete. The physical copies are just carbon storage. We are witnessing the final harvest. We are digitizing the soul of our civilization so that an algorithm can summarize it for us in a punchy 3-paragraph glossary. Yeah. That's the play. I've seen this before. It never ends with the library staying open.
I want to tell you about a girl in a village outside Mombasa. 2 years ago, a man in a suit she will never meet promised her a desk. He stood in front of a camera and used the word empowerment. She does not know that word, but she knew what a book felt like. Today, that desk was deleted by a spreadsheet in London. It was not burned. It was not stolen. It simply ceased to be a possibility. She is 12 now. She will spend tomorrow carrying water instead of conjugating verbs. The spreadsheet says the budget is balanced. The man in the suit has moved on to a different apartment with a different camera. Her name is not in the £45 million report. Her name is not in the news feed tonight. She is the quiet sound of a door being locked from the other side of the world.